Chris, I just sat there and I watched how good Utah played in the first quarter. That game should have been over. They should have been up by 20.
No.
It was incredible.
Yeah, look, I gave the Clippers absolutely no chance to win that game, and what they did was phenomenal. As you said it, let's give Paul George credit, because he gets drilled when he doesn't play well. You know, we make fun of his name. Oh, it's not playoff P, it's way off P. It's pandemic P.
Right.
It's playoff PU, whatever. Well, let's give him credit now.
Yeah.
Because he was playoff P last night.
Yep.
His 22 points in the first quarter, or first half, kept him in the game.
Yep.
And you're absolutely right. Utah was on fire from three, and yet they're up by one after one quarter. They're up by 5 in the first half after hitting 17 threes. Paul George was the main reason they were still in the game, and that obviously played all over into the second half. So give them credit. I tend to agree with you. I think if I had to point to the two biggest, best situations for the franchise, or best days, it was Kawhi Leonard and Paul George going there.
Yeah.
And then last night's game. There's obviously not a ton of basketball stuff to point to, but last night's was great. If they win this series, game 6 or 7, whenever they clinch, would be the greatest.
So I also made the argument that sometimes to create a divorce, you need a really bad night so everybody can at least admit, okay, it doesn't work. And everybody for years has been saying Simmons and Embiid will make it work. Every GM, every coach. And last night was such a disaster. You can't deny now this is a mess. It just doesn't. Simmons has lost all confidence. I look at this today as a moment where even Daryl Morey and Doc have to look at each other and go, all right, we can just keep doing this over and over and over and over again, but Milwaukee's not going to get worse. Brooklyn's not going to get worse. I don't know. I think I think Philadelphia last night, this is the moment that illustrates that long-term, you can't keep going at Embiid and Simmons. It's not going to work.
Well, all right. First, Doc, before he looks at Daryl Morey, he needs to look in the mirror. All right, because Doc keeps blowing leads. Last night was his 11th playoff game in which he blew a lead of 15 or more points. That's the most in the last 25 years. No other coach has double figures in those types of games. So Doc needs to look in the mirror, because these dudes, you got more talent than Atlanta. And when you lose and you've got more talent, it's your fault. So he's part of this. So he has to look at that.
Fair.
But here's the problem, Colin, and here's what really, I think two teams lost out on this. If Houston had been willing to do the James Harden trade, okay, now the owner, Tillman Fertitta, he didn't want to deal with Daryl Morey. He didn't want to give Daryl Morey James Harden to go with Joel Embiid and maybe gift him a championship. But I think that was the wrong move for Houston. Obviously, it would have been great for Philadelphia. But Houston had to look at it, should have looked at it this way. All right, we can build around Ben Simmons. You can build around Ben Simmons like Milwaukee built around Giannis. Because Ben Simmons can push the ball in transition. He's a very good point guard and playmaker. And in the half-court offense, if I don't have Joel Embiid in there, I can put Simmons down low. I can put him near the basket, and he's going to get me buckets and is a great passer if they double-team him. What you need to do is surround him with 4 shooters.
Yep.
And if one of those shooters is a superstar, a Bradley Beal type, now you're really in business. But even if it's not a Bradley Beal level player, you can still be very good and relevant. So I think Houston made a mistake not doing that trade. Now, going in, look, if they lose this series going into the offseason, I'm not just giving Simmons away, though. First, I'm trying to work on his psyche. I don't know if he's seen a sports psychologist, but obviously this is mental. And he pointed it out last night. The free throws are mental. That's a problem. And so maybe I got to get him to someone to get him the confidence, not only at the free throw line, but to shoot jumpers. Because we see the Instagram posts in the offseason. He's draining jumpers against, some accountants at the YMCA or whoever he's playing with. He's just got to get the confidence to do it in an NBA game. So though I would look at several things before I just blow it up, unless I get a great trade for him.
Yeah.
But I'm not just blowing it up to blow it up.
Couple minutes left. Zion Williamson, the Athletic, Shams, and Joe Varden break the story today that his family doesn't like New Orleans. The organization's dysfunctional. Joy and I have talked about this for the last 6 months. He may be the first young player not to sign a contract extension. That feels real to me. You know, the Lakers, the Knicks, big market teams would go big into him. Your thoughts on the article and Zion's future or near future?
Well, as far as the contract, there's many things you can do. He could sign a shorter version of the contract, right? Remember, LeBron did that with his second big deal in Cleveland. So instead of signing for 5, he signed for 3, and that paved the way for him to go to Miami. So you can do that and keep the organization on alert. Also, it benefits, obviously, the player to sign that deal because you get the most money and you get that security. And remember, and the reason why a lot of guys sign that first deal, Colin, is because that's when it's really life-changing, generational changing, I should say, money. All right, so it's hard to turn that down on your first deal. But it also benefits the organization. Obviously, for the security of, hey, we can keep you if we want. It can get ugly, and we might be forced to trade you, but we got some leverage if you sign long-term. But the other thing is this. It's better for you if you have to trade him. Because now he's making max money, so you have to trade him to a situation where you're getting back max money in return. So that means you can get back a star caliber player potentially if you have to deal him, whereas now he's making $10 million a year. So if you have to trade him now, you're not getting equal value. Here's what New Orleans has to do to rectify the situation. Hire the right coach. All right, David Griffin has said since he left Cleveland, man, now I get to build. You know, with LeBron, it was always you got to win a championship right now and you're not really building and all that. Okay, now you wanted a chance to build. Here it is. And you get to build with Zion Williamson. Now go out. You made a mistake with Stan Van Gundy, clearly. You retained Alvin Gentry, then fired him after a year. So you're 0 for 2 on the coaches. Hire the right coach, and that can stabilize things with Zion. I think Chauncey Billups is a guy that they got to look at. A lot of people around the league think he's destined for Portland. But if I'm Chauncey, as much as I love Dame Lillard, there's a ceiling with them.
Yeah.
I look at Zion and Brandon Ingram and Lonzo, and I'm thinking, okay, that's a team I can really do something with long term. Here's the thing. Will David Griffin hire a strong personality who is, you know, presidential material, right? The Cleveland Cavaliers offered Chauncey Billups the president of basketball operations. So Chauncey's a guy that a lot of people look at like, okay, he could be a great coach, but my owner might actually think he could be a great president too. And so will David Griffin have the guts to hire a guy like that? That's the type of move you need to make to stabilize the situation.
Boy, Broussard, you brought it today. I don't know if you had a couple Red Bulls. You were on fire. You're like the Jazz in the first quarter last night. You're bringing heat, baby, draining threes. Chris Broussard, who's always great. Fox Sports, love having you on the team, bud. Thanks. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.